I know I'm late. I never thought I'd end up being late to start one of these streams. But here I am, and I'm late on one. Way to go. Way to go to me. Ended up having last minute conversations about some personal stuff, and I end up falling behind by like, what, 4 minutes? But at least I actually managed to get around and start this godforsaken stream. So I guess I ain't being the technical difficulty allegations with the Gargoyles anytime soon. At least they have a functioning link this time. Because of course there is. Let me at least make sure that okay, yeah, everything's looking alright here. I don't think I tested any of the stuff there, but I don't think we're gonna need it at this point. Whatever. Because at the very least, it's gonna be a second take for the Gargoyles, as this is once again a home game for them. For those of you that missed the Monday Night Football stream, I ultimately decided to fill in that empty box with some text of what game is next. So the next one is going to be the Germany game between the Falcons and the Colts. Oh, Sunday, November 9th. That game is scheduled to start at 9:30 in the morning over here where I'm at. Which means I am most likely gonna be having to start this stream about 9:15. And there's all kinds of stuff that goes on here. All kinds of stuff that goes on. But we actually get a division rival this time instead of older brother or older stepbrother, because this is the North Division that the Gargoyles are permanently stuck in. And they're gonna be up against the Wheeling Nailers, who are hailing from West Virginia. No, they are not gonna be playing Country Roads after this. Because they're gonna be playing whatever they decided on. If it just so happens to be Country Roads, it just so happens to be Country Roads. That's their decision, not mine, but they're 4-1. And both of the Gargoyles wins have netted points. They actually lost it overtime twice. I think that's the right statistic I need. I believe they're supposed to be 2, 3, and 2. I think. Because I believe they've been playing their fair share of games. Yeah, 2, 3, and 2. They played a total of 7 games. Compared to just 5 for the Nailers. I'm actually prepared with some water this time. And the Gargoyles are on their inauguration tour. Now, it's important to note there will be a team over in the West joining in. Because they're over in the West, unless they play in the East, there's a good chance I won't be able to cover them. Unfortunate, but there's only so much I can do with inaugural tours. I think what I might do is I might do some sort of thing where I cover any road game they play that is slated for the Eastern time or the Central time. Unless there's a Sunday game at home that I can do just easily. Go with that kind of approach. If I decide to go with them as my selected team for next season, we'll just have to wait and see. But as you can tell, I did decide to bring back. For those that missed Monday night, I brought in the score bug here. Actually, let me see here. It should be to where only teams that play today that I've selected are available to be seen. I believe I did that. So remember, November 9th is when I'll be going through the next game on my slated calendar. Oh, something like this would go. But anyway, they've had their fair share of ups and downs, I'm sure. It's just typical expansion in woes. Even if you don't have to draft anybody, and instead just go get the signed players through your checkbook. If you're even lucky to sign them before they go overseas. That's been a big issue with ECHL as of late. There's no new CBA, so they're functioning under the old CBA guidelines until a new one can be reached. That's why they're still allowed to play because they're going in under the old guidelines that expired. That's why they're still allowed to play for right now. But nevertheless, time is here for some hockey. And for those of you that are tuning in to the NFL, boy, do I wish you the best of luck. Raiders Broncos is not going to be that good of a game. It's probably going to be defense everywhere. I hope things work out for you. we're actually now underway in the first period of this game. The Gargoyles are pretty much considered middle of the pack as of right now in terms of how they're doing. But it's early in the season. But the Nailers are the Nailers doing white jerseys on yellow helmets? Ew, that is not a good comparing. Yellow helmets with yellow helmets with white jerseys. Ugh. Wow. Maybe I don't know if the Penguins do the same thing or not, but as far as I know, they seem to just be regular old Penguins. But that is not the kind of combination I'd want to see on my screen. Just looks hella ugly. Really ugly. I've never seen a Nailers uniforms before. So seeing that just kind of hurts the eyes. But the Nailers couldn't even get in the net that time anyway. The Gargoyles have better looking jerseys. They have the better, yeah, the Gargoyles have the better looking uniforms of the two teams playing. Seriously though, are all those ads all that necessary? I hate to see how it looks on the ice there at the Iceman game because the home opener for us is finally gonna be tomorrow. I hate to see how overwhelmed with corporate sponsors it is there. And I can imagine that the Anthem branch is just saying what they're saying as a case of we don't know what we're doing. Because let's be honest, do any of these corporate companies know what they're doing? Yeah, I'm already taking jabs at them, and I haven't even commentated much about the game. Shows how much I care about some of these matchups. As in, no, I, that almost could have been an icing call, but well, see if anybody can do anything. I'm sure this is a chance to get settled into their new rival. I don't know if they've played each other yet, but regardless, that was a hit. Uh, But Nailers have the puck. Nailers trying to look for an opportunity on the rebound. Blocked. And Nailers once again had it on the rebound, but that puck is going to be stopped as they'll head to a face-off. Yeah, you might notice this game's already going compared to these NHL games here. NHL games tend to take a little bit. Guess they're gonna call icing there. Yes, that's their fan penalty box. Good old fan penalty box. Lovely. And we're just continuing with the back and forth. Jeez, I don't know why I picked this one when I'm already tired. Nailers are having to regroup, but it does no good. They have to regroup again. And but now the Gargoyles are building pressure against them as Nailers once again try to regroup, but the pressure ends up being too much as the Gargoyles are going to try to make an advance of their own. On and pressure's being delivered. And there's, I guess that was just a warning for offsides. But regardless, it went all the way to the Gargoyle zone, all the way back to the Nailer zone, and now the Nailers is having a puck take it down to the Gargoyle zone. On and now it's headed its way back over to the Nailer zone. On it keeps going from one zone to the other without anything noteworthy. Jeez, that is quite the rarity, isn't it? Let me see if turn the volume up a little bit might help. As long as it doesn't pick up on the mic, I should be good. The audio quality for these particular kinds of games aren't anywhere close to NHL or NFL or whatever major league you want to go with. So I think we're good on that front. I think. And there's their goal. And the Nailers is going to end up striking first. Look at that. The Nailers are able to get it in. And they get it in backwards. And that was Connor Ungar in at net for the Gargoyles. He just couldn't see that one coming. Plain simple. He just couldn't. He really couldn't. And now, out more. And the whistle's going to be blown dead. And by the way, the person who got that first goal of the game was Jordan Kaplan. He definitely almost got the Michigan. I think there was a little bit there where they called a certain type of goal the Michigan, if I'm mistaken. There have been some crazy kinds of goals that have been scored in the history of the sport. There have been some where they be behind the goal, at, they shoot it, bounces off the back of the goalie's foot into the net. I think that's the one they call Michigan, or could be something else for all I know. Could really be anything. And they're doing a smile cam. Okay, they're actually doing it with with a sponsor being orthodontics. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense why they would do like a smile cam with that kind of sponsor. But this will be in the nailer zone for the face off. But no opportunity to get anything going there as the nailers end up taking the puck all the way back down the opposite side. It's hard to tell where the puck was. And there is going to be a penalty right there. And that is going to put the Gargoyles on a power play. Max Graham's going to be caught for tripping. So now it's going to be the power play for the Gargoyles as they're forced to regroup after the face off. And they'll try to get some opportunities in whenever they can. Gargoyles are trying to look. They couldn't get in that time. Here they are on another opportunity. Trying to maintain possession, try to find some openings. And they're going to stop it dead for a hand pass. You're not. He's trying to argue that it hit his elbow. But regardless, you still can't have a hand there. Or they'll call it as like bobbling or hand pass. Them's the rules. So the Gargoyles are forced to regroup over it. They're looking for an opening. Couldn't get it in there. And there they are with another attempt. They're trying to find the opening. That puck is stopped. And it goes all the way down. It doesn't look like they'll be able to get much of anything on the power play. As they once again try to get themselves a chance. And that one is going to be a turnover. That's going to do it. It's back to full strength for Wheeling for the Nailers. Some There's been some pressure put on the power play, but just couldn't capitalize. That's been a recurring theme for a good chunk of these penalties. Just can't capitalize. But But Jake Smith, who is the goalie for the Nailers, managed to just bring that puck in to force a face-off. As we are past the halfway mark of this first period. And they're gonna go over their specific things. Whatever a team tends to do, of course. Remember the for those that don't remember, the first time we featured a Gargoyles game, there were some technical difficulties and it ended with an overtime loss, being spoiled at home for their first ever career for their first ever game in history against the Icemen. The Icemen did proceed to sweep the series in Greensboro. But here they are looking to get their first win in this particular format. In fact, the Lions and the Ghost Pirates were the only two ECHL teams that were selected to win a game. This is the third and final team that has yet to win a game on stream. And remember, Lions had that overtime thriller against the Reading Royals, and the Ghost Pirates had that absolutely bonkers game against the Stingrays. Is that ended in a blowout and some fireworks. So so it's not like nothing's going on. Just some things going on. The Gargoyles are back in the Nailer zone. And they get the rebound after a missed opportunity. As they're fighting, they fought for the puck and lost. Nailers are now looking to respond. And now this puck is going all the way back. Nailers trying to regroup. There was pressure from the Gargoyles. They try to get the puck. And now we get a little bit of neutral zone. Shot. Nailers taking over or advancing. Didn't get anything favorable. It was turned up over. Getting a lot of time ticking off throughout. Nobody can maintain clear possession for a decent amount of time right now. Can the Nailers change it? It's not a favorable matchup. So the Gargoyles will try. That went straight into the goalie. That went straight into Smith. So it's gonna be face off in the Nailers zone. And it's just been attempt at shots, a, a lot of flopping around. I wonder how the Nailers managed to win some games. Granted, it is early in the season, and the point values are what matter more, at least. Also, the Gladiators went 6-0 before losing their first game. I wonder if that means they're going to get off to another hot start only to fall apart afterwards. That's how it's been the last two seasons. Yes, Nesbitt ended up moving up in the promotions, but at the same time, Gladiators can't have nice things. It's written in Atlanta sports. Can't have nice things. 2021 Braves was an exception. That shot was saved by Smith right there. By the way, guys, in case anybody's forgotten, I could have picked the Grizzlies if I wanted to because they're going on a farewell tour. New ownership, they were just sold to an ownership group out of Trenton, New Jersey, and will therefore be moving to that city after the season. I don't. We don't know if they'll keep the I don't know if they'll keep the Grizzlies name or not. But regardless, they are moving to New Jersey. A lot of it just came down to the NHL moving in and making an impact. Why keep an ECHL team that's been there forever and age in an area that just accepted a new hockey team that has gone up in popularity with stable ownership and everything. So we'll be keeping an eye out for what happens to the Utah Grizzlies as the season progresses. I won't. I will find if they do play any games towards the east. I'll be sure to do what I can to cover some as we're about to get some. As we got some pushing and shoving going on. on at the Gargoyle Zone. Let me see if I can pull them up here. Yeah, this is the pin here. Utah Grizzlies announced the 2025-26 season will be their final campaign in West Valley City. Will relocate to Trenton, New Jersey under control of Pro Hockey Partners LLC following the conclusion of the season. So their new slogan is basically the final hunt. Somebody wants Trenton Titans. Somebody said it should be Saskatoon or Regina. Yeah, no. They'll reveal the names and stuff as the season progresses. I'm sure the Utah Grizzly fans are not happy of the move. But sometimes when the NHL comes in, you just have to let them breathe. It's just the facts. But also, Don Mattingly is moving on from the Blue Jays. Just I mentioned that. But time is winding down in the period. But yeah, time's winding down. Now, somebody from the north will have to move back to one of the other divisions. Yeah, they already stated they're going to be joining the North. True, ECHL Hockey is the official website there. But time winds down and down and down as nobody's able to do anything right at this particular point. And that's probably how the first period is going to end. Yep, that's how the first period comes to an end. Rather tame, if you ask me. But there are some games about to start for some of y'all. But yeah, I just had to do a brief lookup of everything. There is an ECHL. There is a certain ECHL hockey social media thing. They've been posting all kinds of things. But yeah, they're on their mission right now. They are officially running as of September 9th a Name the Team contest. But it looks like they have finished taking suggestions. I'm wondering So we don't know. So we're not gonna know what the official name is at this point. But at least Antonio Brown taken into custody on an attempted it after shooting in front of after a celebrity boxing event. What? Oh, oh boy. Typical Antonio Brown. Getting himself arrested it on an attempted take this away charge. Like literally. Just literally he talking about how being arrested for a bad thing again. This time he was arrested in Dubai. Meaning he got arrested in another country and sent back to the United States because he was facing charges over in Miami. Just how hilarious is that? Seriously though? Seriously though, you dude thought you could get away by going to Dubai? Seriously. What the hell did he expect to happen in Dubai of all places? Like, no joke. What was he expecting to happen? What was he expecting? Everybody knows that if you end up going to a place like Dubai, you better be absolutely on the right side of everything. As in, right side of everything. Seriously. Like, come on. Seriously. That's what I want to know. Dude gets arrested in Dubai and taken back to the United States. The United Arab Emirates. Allow for him to be sent back. Imagine that. Really not sure what he was thinking there. Well, it doesn't help that those kinds of commercials were loud, but I turned it down a little bit. I'll be back. Seriously, I really want to know what Antonio Brown was thinking. Did he still think that he was some sort of immigrant who was originally from there? Now that I think about it, that would sound like a very Antonio Brown argument to make. This is the same guy who tried to proclaim something else, even though he was born at this particular place. People are just shows even further that people can be crazy. Absolutely crazy. Just absolutely crazy. Just, I don't get it. Absolutely don't get it. I mean, seeing more to go to your room, Antonio Brown, a grown man. He's probably gonna get what's given how much he's fallen off the deep end and became an absolute idiot. He's probably gonna end up getting what's coming to him. Am I gonna celebrate? Why would I celebrate something that's so heinous? There are literally people who celebrate take people not being around anymore, which I don't think is a good thing to do. Gives you a bad look for sure. I won't mourn over them either. At this point, I'm just not gonna even be sure what this is. I wonder what's going on here. So, oh great, Los Angeles Audio is locked behind a premium subscription. What will I ever do? Oh no. What the heck is this? Launching a GoFundMe campaign to fund his fines after being fined $14,491 for his hip thrust celebration against the hackers? What the? Wow. What the? What the heck? It kind of poses that. It sounds more like a troll. Sounds more like a troll post than anything. I need to know if this actually happened. I need to know if that fine actually did occur. I just need to know if such a thing actually happened. That is that sounds like one of the most ridiculous things I could have heard. Also, there was supposed to be a suspension for Frankie Lugu, but it got overturned. It was reduced, so it was reduced to a $100,000 fine. Just like what the heck? Kind of. I find that hard to believe that it happened. I'm trying to find some kind of post like that. Joe Alt's officially out for the year. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about a fine for that. But that sounds really stupid if that actually is the case. But I need to quickly get back over to this because I didn't realize that we were actually in the second period. Oops. No worries. Don't worry. Nothing. I didn't miss anything substantial yet. But yeah, that it's been some crazy week, everyone. Some crazy week. Yeah. Man, what? I still, I, I still remember that there was a whole saga where Antonio Brown just burned the Albany Empire Arena football team into the ground. I'm gonna have to rewatch that video again. You had a QB, Sam Castronova, who ended up coming into the Sharks and helping us win a National Arena League championship. Oops. Yeah. Yeah, it was like shenanigans and shenanigans. But yeah, there hasn't been much to talk about in this game so far. I'm sure we'll get something eventually. It's just mainly been back and forth. Everyone's racking up shots on goals. Been rather tame. Honestly, after that craziness that is the. Well, I was just talking about goals, and there's a goal right there for the Nailers. That's a now a 2-0 lead for them. And that's Connor Lockhart who got that one for the Nailers. It's just crazy to think. But yeah, things aren't looking too good for the Gargoyles right now. What happened to the number? I I swear those numbers tend to act very weird sometimes. Really weird. But regardless, if you see something that started at that said starting at 7, but it doesn't actually start till about an hour or two later, don't worry about it. That tends to be an issue with this particular scorer bot sometimes. It's called Sports Scores Bot, but I don't know how much of a bot it really is. Who knows at this point? Who knows? So yeah, the hair cam. Hey, look, woman, you managed to make it on the hair cam because you ended up with hair. Really, you could put anybody on a hair cam and it'd fit. Just saying. I'm just saying. But it is a back and forth right now. Well, not really a back and forth. It's to an extent lopsided. The Gargoyles just can't seem to do much. They just can't. They really can't. But yeah, I think allowing for the dynamic, if frame rate adjustment thing, on top of making sure I'm all over the not letting certain things drag out for as long as they do, has proven to be a better way to handle streams. That's what I've been noticing. But there will be a face off in the Gargoyle zone. Uh, it's hard to tell what anybody's trying to do because nobody wants to be consistent or anything. Nobody wants to be consistent. But at least time is ticking and ticking. We always like to see the clock tick down and tick down and tick down and tick down until there's nothing left to talk about. But what even is there to talk about that hasn't been talked about? But apparently there is a separate scorebook thing that I could use. But I'm thinking of holding off on trying to use such a feature unless I'm having to do something. Unless. What's that unless thing? Yeah. The only thing that I can think of. The only thing I can think of. The only kinds of sports that I can think of where I could do something like that. Use a scorebook like that. Are with baseball and basketball. Those. And the reason why those two in particular is because of how baseball is and how basketball is. So I'll probably reserve the scorebook use for those two particular sports, and that is another goal for the Nailers. Right off the face off. Wow. That came right off the face off right there. And that's Zach Erdahl, with Kaplan being credited for an assist. And if I'm the Gargoyles, I'm starting to think about what to do with Ungar. Because he hasn't been able to do a good job up in this game. Now, I'm thinking of having one that I can use. I'm thinking of doing like do one kind of setup for the basketball, do one kind of setup for baseball, or something like that. I don't know. I'll have to play around with the details a little bit in order to figure out what I want to do with both of those if I want to do those kinds of sports. There are going to be opportunities while I cover basket for me to talk about basketball at times. And I'm probably only going to get one chance to talk about baseball at any point. That'd be the next baseball season. But this particular, the one that I've been modifying through myself, has pretty much been useful for me. It's good for the NFL. It's good for football. It's good for hockey, and it's good for soccer if you can believe it. Speaking of Canadian football, I need to see how the CFL is doing right now. Oh yeah, they're mainly at the finals are gonna be on Saturday. Not tomorrow. They're gonna be Saturday. But hey, nothing wrong with that. See here. Second period going on. Up 3-0 for the Nailers. Gargoyles need to do something. I don't know what it is they can do, but they need to do something. And that puck is going to be stopped in its tracks by Smith. And I'm sure there are some games that are going well right now. But yeah, I'm sure Wild Canes is going to be a more interesting game. Oh, that shot stopped, and now the Nailers will take over. As they just took it all the way down the opposite end. That one was close. That was almost a penalty. Remember, there's a trapezoid rule in hockey. But that one will be called an icing. There's a certain rule for. There's a trapezoid rule where a penalty can be called if the goalie does not mean if the goalie plays the puck outside the trapezoid that is behind the net. Like there's two no zones on each side of the trapezoid that is behind the net. If the goalie plays a puck in there, that's a penalty. Goalies are also not allowed to have possession of the puck beyond a certain point, and are also not allowed to cross a certain point, or else they'll get penalized. But goalies can't go into the penalty box, meaning that they'll have to send in a weapon. Unless that goalie gets ejected and then the backup needs to come in. Which has happened before. But yeah, it has happened before. That goalie got ejected. For certain things. It's happened, and it can happen again. But yeah. Some stuff has occurred. I think if I'm the Gargoyles, I'm starting to consider switching out the goalie if he gives up another goal at this rate. Because I don't know what else. Because I don't know of any other ways they can do it. Yeah, but usually when some occurrences tend to occur at some point. It's just how it is. But here we go. Extra. There was players starting to go at it there behind the net in the gargoyle zone. Anybody wanted some fireworks? Did anybody want fireworks? Because they're kind of happening. Bill Cam. Wow, I didn't expect them to do stuff like that. Way to go, it's Bill Cam. You ready to throw snowballs at the mascot, everybody? Yeah, throw snowballs at the mascot. That'll surely help. That's definitely gonna help your chances of winning. Well, I get that the intent was to just get some fun little help in there, but um, yeah, I don't think that's how it works. But anyway, let's get back to this because there is time still on the clock, and look at this, more extracurricular. Seems like they're starting to fit in well up there. That there was a chance there. That was a miss at the puck. So many things are going wrong here. Jeez. Fantasy ain't helping me right now. Get the back and forth going, yeah. So you can clearly tell the Gargoyles outfit is struggling. And speaking of struggles, I am not expecting a win for the Iceman tomorrow. Or Saturday for that matter. Because because it's now that month where they tend to struggle. Definitely struggle. It's always a struggle. It's full speed ahead. If you catch my drift. But anyway, I might tinker with the numbers a little bit. But for the Sunday thing, not so much for this particular thing. I don't want to implement a new change until a new slight adjustment until the next game. With that's the thing. Regardless, we got a game with 3 minutes in the second period to go. He couldn't even get it through on that particular kind of shot. That, and once again, is stopped. Remember, it's very hard to get a shutout in this league. It's very hard to get a shutout in general. But there is going to be a penalty called. And it's going to. And it's against the Nailers. They're going to get him for slashing. So once again, the Gargoyles are on a power play. And already the Gargoyles had to regroup. And they're trying to keep it in the Nailer zone, but they're having a hard time doing so as they're forced to regroup again. It's been a recurring theme all night. They just can't finish anything. They just can't get anything done. Even on the other power play that they had earlier in the game, they couldn't do much. It's been a recurring theme for them. But that play is going to be stopped. An impressive play by Jake Smith. And I'm sure he'll be wanting to maintain a shout as long as possible. As there is some sticks broken. And it's finally in to the net for the Gargoyles. At last, they managed to actually get it through. On the power play, no less. They finally get it in on that power play. David Gagnon able to finally get the Gargoyles on the board. And it's now 3-1. As that will put the Nailers back to full strength as the Gargoyles were on the power play there. As time is going to tick down. No more pressures of a shutout. Now it's just playing hockey. Hey, be thankful there's no ECHL Fantasy League. Or else this would be all kinds of wacky. But there's not going to be much of an opportunity to get anything else done. And that one's going to be called an icing. We're pretty much down to half a minute in this second period. As the Nailers are looking to make it back to a 3-point lead. Oh, and I don't think they'll be able to actually get it pulled off here. Or clock ticks. They're trying to give themselves one last chance to do so before the end of the period. There's still another 20 minutes left to go. And time is going to expire. And that is going to put us at an intermission. Gargoyles are trailing by 2 going into the third period. It's definitely possible to make a comeback. But with how things have been for them, I'm honestly a little iffy. But let me see if I can give you a little bit of a look into for this kind of. See if we can do some experimentation thing. Oh, right. I have to actually go out of my way and set this thing up. Let's see. Well, I guess I'll just use this final score for my example. Let's see. I could use this font here, which is ABZ. Yeah, no. I believe that's the one I've been using this whole time. I want to find a font that works. It also has the option to. It also has that option there. Eh, I've been using Magnolia script for a good chunk of things. Buffalo doesn't let me. I want to find something reasonable. Let's see here. That's the one I've been using. That's old standard. That doesn't look right. It won't let me do that part. What about this one? No. Let me see here. This one doesn't allow for it. This one doesn't allow for it. I think I was onto something with a Roboto. I think I like this Roboto kind of look the best. I think that Roboto look seems to work. How's the one look? It looks like a one. Alright, yeah, I think I found the number I wanted to go with. Bold Roboto. I'll start applying that. It's Bold Roboto. Yeah, Bold Roboto seems to be what gets the job done. I Don't worry, guys. So here's what I'll do. Next, I'll go with that particular font for the next game I do, which is Falcons Colts. I'll start playing it on the next one. So let me duplicate this, fix this back to where it was before. Which I believe was that. Yeah, yeah, that's where it was at before. I'll just fix that one back to that. Just giving you a little. This consider it's like a little behind the scenes, like a little bit of a look behind the scenes as to how I set things up. You're getting a look behind the scenes as to how I get things set up here. Just a little behind the scenes look. What you're getting right now is a bit of a behind the scenes look. The good thing about having already done a game involving the Falcons is that I can just copy and paste from an older thing and just apply it right there. But you're still getting a little bit of behind the scenes stuff as to what I tend to do during this intermission. So whenever you'll see what I'll do with a team getting a repeat that is not in the current format. Falcons were easy to do, they already were in the current format. But for a team like the Colts who are making their first appearance, I'll insert the logo, then I'll shrink it and adjust its positioning to where it fits within the diameters of my little screen here. Like about right there would about do for the Colts logo. And then what I'll do is I'll set the colors up to where they match. Like this one needs to match with the Falcons logo. And since I already have the Falcons colors saved, it's all set up already. But I do need to adjust the Colts colors. Since they are just being added. So I use the colors provided based on the logo that is provided. I'm changing the Colts up a little bit. Since they haven't been part of this for a hot minute. And voila! You now gotta look at the behind the scenes on how I put these things together. A little bit of a behind the scenes action, so to speak. Apparently it's a win game in Denver. My God, I can't believe it. Chicago, eat your heart out. So, but the but for those that want a more in-depth explanation on how I fix the colors, so this outer part here makes use of the primary color of the given team. Like for the Colts, it's a darker blue. And for the Falcons, it's more of a whatever red they use. Then for the inner section where the logo fits, that's where I'll use one of their secondary colors if one is available. Or in the case of the Colts, they had a brighter blue available for me to use from their logo selection. So there it is. And for the Falcons, they had an they had an alternate use of color provided as part of theirs. And then I use one of their other colors for the text and the numbers. Like, since they both use white predominantly, white is the text color, and the inside is a bit of a gray. There are teams, like, say for example, the Packers. The outside's a darker yellow, but the inside's a brighter yellow. Or with the Broncos, there's a shade of orange inside of another shade of orange. Or in cases like these two teams, the inside's white, but the outside is more of a yellow. So now you know. But let's actually get back over to some hockey. But you all have gotten to see the behind the scenes of how I set up my little scorebooks. I do the same thing with the NHL. Well, anything in hockey, really. Just anything in hockey, to be honest. But yeah. And since you saw what type A's I decided to settle on, starting with that game, Falcons Colts, you'll see the score numbers look different. But they're about to come back out for the third period. This time I'm actually gonna show it a little bit before the game actually starts. But yeah, I, that typeface I found seems to look a lot better and a little more consistent, which is honestly for the best. But regardless, third period hockey. Well, we see a combat that forces overtime, a combat that ends in regulation, or are we gonna see people sounding off a bell? That's apparently a thing that they do. Well then, but let's get to the final period of hockey, everyone. As we just pick up with more of the same. Typical more of the same, at least. Yeah, this chair has pretty much seen better days ever since it's been messed with out and back. Wonder who that would be. Guessing they're gonna call a penalty? Yep, they called it on Max Grant for tripping. That was quick. So once again, it's gonna be a power play for the Gargoyles for 2 minutes. A single penalty has been called against them. Guys gotta give them the benefit of the doubt for now. Honeymoon period will then eventually. They always do. That's how expansion works. You'll get a few favorable calls here and there, but the honeymoon will eventually end. Eventually. I do mean eventually. I have it on the lowest recommended setting. And surprisingly, there's been very few issues ever since I've made the adjustments I made, so I think I found a bit of a sweet spot. So we'll stick with that sweet spot for now. It doesn't take much RAM, to be honest. Just depends on what all I have active. But anyway, it's just been back and forth, and that I forgot to say this, but that penalty already ended. Forgot to update it already, but now I remember to update it. Nothing occurred. Couldn't capitalize. Also, looking at the penalty thing, that's the second tripping call against Max Grant that occurred. Huh. Maybe he likes being called for tripping or something? Maybe it's his favorite penalty? I don't know. Some players have weird quirks. I think a good chunk of them have weird quirks. But I think there's a decent amount that have come out and expressed their political beliefs. And honestly, some people are actually better than silent, and that's probably for the best. And then there is gonna be a whistle, and this time around, it's actually the Gargoyles that are being called for a penalty. Demetrio Guamontes is gonna be called for a hook. And now the Nailers are actually gonna be on a power play. They're first of the game. Nailers looking to capitalize already. Jeez. Now lounging in The penalty box sponsored by a cigar company? Well then. Where do I see that? But the Nailers have been looking to capitalize on power play and extend their lead. And they haven't been able to do so. Oh, as that shot was stopped. That one was close to being a shorthanded. Smith has been doing everything he can. And the Nailers forced to regroup. They seem to not be able to take advantage of a power play of their own. And that's going to end the penalty. And he's trying to force a face off there. Think that was Ungar trying to force a face off. He finally got to do so with 14:14 on the clock. And there will be another penalty called. And this is another one against the Gargoyles. As that's going to be a holding call for Trevor Zins. But yeah, Ungar is still at net. They're really trusting him right now. But Smith has been doing pretty solid. And they're going to stop the play there. I guess it was offsides. Lounging in a penalty box, sponsored by a by a cigar company. You had that on your bingo card for hockey? Guess not. But play will continue. Yeah, there was a chance for a shorthander, but it's gonna be the Nailers. Look, looking to try to take advantage. And if there's a contest for the puck, it's finally out. And the Gargoyles are looking to try to capitalize on the shorthand, and they really can't. They're gonna just try another attempt. That shot is stopped. And this power play ain't gonna do so hot either for them. As the Gargoyles are now back at full strength. Is this gonna go right in? No! That is going all the way into the opposite way for an icing. That was another puck. That was another shot that came real close. It was really close to actually going in the net. There have been several close calls throughout this game. It's just been, despite the score, it's been rather physical. And I do mean physical. Oh, man, goodness. Smith went through that net. And Whistle's gonna come to an end, and now there's definitely players who's trying to go at it. They're gonna think it's the Nailers players trying to stick it, trying to stand up for their goalie. Definitely not the kind of fireworks that, I mean, after the kind of game that, after the kinds of games we've gotten, like that Stingrays Ghost Pirates game, this one has been rather tame. Honestly, could use something more tame. You know, my luck, this is probably going to be the most tame game of the month. Just knowing my luck. I can only imagine how that would go. And doesn't look like they're going to call any penalties. They're just going to go back act the play as if nothing happened. And it has certainly been physical. And now we're halfway through the third period. And play is still going. And they're just gonna let them play for a little bit. And it's now in the nailer zone. Oh, the puck is. Not anymore. It's sent all the way back down. Gargoyles still holding on to it. And this game has just been full of physicality. But this physical nature has not amounted to much for the Gargoyles. But they are looking to change it as the time is still winding down. And what's going to be the call here? There's 8:27 to go. Was the puck stopped? I guess it was. They're going to go to the little ice crew thing. Yeah, this front of this chair has been coming apart quite a bit. I'm going to have to start getting something to set on top. Maybe. Just have to wait and see. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, won't we? I don't know what kind of dancing they were trying to showcase. Maybe the chicken dance? Well, they shouldn't be. Oh, they probably will be doing chicken dances if they're losing right now. Because with how this game has been, they definitely have been chickens. But the puck is still in the nailer zone. The affliction of pressure is strong. Not strong enough. Going back the opposite way. Puck is stopped. As that was basically blown. I think they're calling offsides. Unless that's just going to face off. It's just going to face off. There was no offsides. Uh, they're but they're gonna have to start showing some efforts of a comeback soon because they don't have a lot of time left. And they ain't doing that good of a job with it right now. They've been having to deal with the pressure from the Nailers all game. And they haven't had all that many answers for them. And that's going to face off. Back ram in the middle of things again. Wouldn't be surprised. But they're going to have to figure something out soon. The best chances right now is to force overtime. And we also got a player who lost their stick. And they went in the bench and got a new one. Now they can actually play. It's definitely not looking too good. Gargoyles now have the puck. Advancing. But it's forced to go the opposite way. That shot is just going to be stopped there. And yeah, time is really winding down for them. They're they only got around 5 minutes to score maybe 2 or 3 points or 2 or 3 goals. Yeah, the time keeps ticking away, and their chances of getting a win is looking grim. Thoroughly. And that one is another save. Will the Gargoyles ever do anything? Probably not. But we'll just see. They're trying to get pressure. That's just going to leave the zone. They're forced to. And the Gargoyles are going to be forced to regroup. Their chances are not exactly looking right. And time just keeps ticking away. As they're trying to find an opportunity to get it into net, and they won't be able to. Because they're going to talk about the checker puck stuff. That's right. There's a good chunk of teams that do checker puck. And that one is actually able to get in for a goal. The Gargoyles finally get one. Were they about to go in the extra attacker too? Again, I think they were about to go in the extra attacker. 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 5 out there, and they were about to go for the extra attacker, I think. That was Denis Gur who managed to get that one. They'll probably still need a chance for the extra attacker anyway. Because they're still only down by 1. And they will. Well, I still see 5. Time winding down. And time is still ticking. Still ticking. And there's going to be a power play down for somebody. And it's going to be for the Gargoyles. Things are starting to look their way right now. That was Matthew Garcia who got called for a slashing. That's a nailer going back to the penalty box. As it's now going to be 5-on-4, but they might still go for the extra attacker if they wanted to. But the goalie for the Gargoyles is still in the net. He might be looking. He might be looking. He's probably still looking. And it's still in the zone. Shot is stopped. Yeah, no, he's still down there. Ungar's still down there. Penn's choking another lead. What a combination. 2 minutes ago. And I still only see 5 total. He's still there. They haven't pulled him yet. They're hoping to rely on the power play. But he's still down there as there's not much time left to go. It's a 1-goal game. They must be confident. It's all the way back, and they do finally pull him. I just saw the empty net there. Nothing's gonna go well for this power play. It's gonna be extra attacker for 6-on-5 as we're in the final minute. That is stopped for a shot. Still a back and forth. And that puck is all the way down the opposite way. They call they call it they're calling that an empty netter. An empty net goal. But it is under review right now. But they're saying that there's it went all the way down. The initial decision was empty net goal for the Nailers. This is going to review to make sure it was an empty netter. And this is a crucial call with 39 seconds to go. This is a very crucial review that could decide the fate of the game. They're taking a good look at it. I didn't get to see it go in. That's the thing. It moved. It was sent to the other side rather quick. There's really they're back at center ice. The call is going to stand, and it's going to be credited to Matthew Curcia, who had already came off a penalty. And it's just going to be back to a 5-on-5. And I think that's going to be how the game ends. No chance for a comeback for them, as this is going to end in regulation. And the Nailers are just looking to end it there. 8 seconds on the clock. Think this might be how the game ends. First, they're talking about the Iron Man of the game. Because I am Iron Man. Yeah, you really were in this game. And there's no chance, as the clock's gonna hit 0. And this is where the game ends. It's gonna be a 4-2 win for the Nailers, as the Gargoyles just continue to struggle. They just had no answers for the pressure that the Nailers were delivering. Just no answers. Just none whatsoever. As they're now 0-2 during these streams. And that's probably going to do it for me. Remember, November 9th, it's really early in the morning for me. It's the Germany game between the Falcons and the Colts. And until then, or until the next time you decide to tune in, whichever it is that comes first for you, just remember to travel safely. Good night, everyone.